Well, hello, this is Joe Air here for on vacation, but still getting my assignment done. So I thought I'd do it with the backdrop of a lake here in Oregon with my family. Kind of a fun deal. Anyway, this is my wiki for week 4, Characteristics of Autism. And as you can see, I'm going to take a little bit of a different spin on this as I'm a parent of an autistic child. And I thought I would come at this through the eyes of Brandon, and kind of share with you a little bit about the different areas of characteristics of autism that he has. So as you can see, as we go through, Brandon is 7 years old, and he is a great kid. We actually were able to adopt him from foster care, and that was also something that played into his overall development, I think, was the 2.5 years before we had him in our home. So cognitive and neurological may struggle in school or may not struggle in school, may have sleep issues, fine motor skills. These are all things that Brandon has had challenges with. The first challenge is struggling in school. I think if it's something that he's not interested in, he does struggle in school. If it's something that he is interested in, which for him is very much animals, he does not struggle as much. And we have used that as a way to teach him and for him to learn more and more. Also, sleep issues. The first year of his sleeping, he actually didn't sleep hardly at all at night, and there were lots of challenges with that. He still does have challenges off and on with sleep, but for the most part, he sleeps through the night now, which is great. So he will rock and use one of his stems in the middle of the night from time to time. But for the most part, he does a pretty good job. Actually, for him, with sleeping, we actually have pads around his bed, and he also does prefer very much to be in a kind of a closed environment. Fine motor skills, he does have challenges still holding his pencil, and so at his age, that's something we still work on, and we have heard that with lots of autistic kids, they can have some of those challenges. Interesting enough, one of our earlier videos that we watched talked about when you've met one autistic kid, you've only met one autistic kid, and I would definitely support that. A lot of that around he's consistently inconsistent. That's one of the things we say to teachers when we start a new school year. He's consistently inconsistent. So, behavioral and sensory areas, he did line up toy cars early on and lined up just toys in general. And that was kind of an interesting indicator to us that there might be something going on. Tantrums, when given instructions or asked to participate in non-preferred activities. We do still see that from time to time, that when we are transitioning into something that may not be a preferred thing, and that is a challenge that we find with him in school, the challenges of not doing preferred activities. So also sometimes when there is something that happens that is not part of his routine, or not part of the normal school day, that can be a challenge. An assembly can be a challenge. Lunch at a different time, a half day, or an early release day or something of that nature. Those can all be very big challenges for him from time to time. A fire drill as well. Autistic children can also have challenges with food and eating limited numbers of foods, and we've found this to be very similar as well. There are certain things that he will eat and certain things that he will not eat. We do find that to be a challenge from time to time, but then again, there are lots of kids that have challenges with food, and but it can be a bigger autistic kind of characteristic from sensory. And sometimes it is sensory. It's a texture issue, we often say. So, let's see here. He does rock from time to time, and there is rocking. We have had bouts with biting, hitting, and self-injury behavior, which is very common with our son and his behavior. again, it's something we work through, and we've actually seen less of it as he continues to figure out how to operate with himself and his own triggers and things. Also, under behavioral and sensory with sleeping, going back to like our cognitive neurological areas, we have experimented with weighted vests and weighted blankets, and have found that those can be very helpful in that pressure that his body constantly seeks. So that has been a very big help as well. Communication and language, we've been very fortunate that our child is able to speak and communicate very well. And he does have challenges sometimes with expressing his needs and wants, but for the most part he does a pretty good job. Typically his challenges are more when he is actually in a kind of a meltdown phase or something's going on. But often autistic children are nonverbal. Often they're not interested in their peers, and often there's not a lot of communication of their wants and needs that's effective. So we've been fortunate in some of these things. We have not had challenges with as much. But we do see that home versus school can be very different too. Sometimes there will be more challenges at school for him than at home. And then social characteristics. Common social characteristics for autistic children can be really around not being interested in doing things with others, not interested in peers, not being verbal, content to be by themselves, doesn't want to participate in most age-appropriate activities, things like that. What we've seen with our situation has been, routine is very important to him, and especially during the summer right now, we're finding that routine is very challenging because we don't have a lot of a routine. Our son is content to be by himself a lot, and we do struggle with that of wanting to be involved, but at the same time he's very specific as to what he wants to do when he's by himself. We do when we see that our autistic child is interested in his peers or in friendship, that's like a big celebration for us, and it's been very interesting and fun to watch some of those things play out or watch others be interested in him. For a long time we were very fearful as taking him to school that he was going to be the kid that nobody else wanted to play with because he was could be a little more violent or a little more aggressive in his behaviors. So overall, I would say those are the characteristics, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this and listen to it, and I hope it's helpful to you, as all of you have been very helpful to me from your educator standpoint. Thanks.